Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
We recite every morning, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lasok b'divrei Torah. We recite a blessing that we are commanded lasok, to be osek, to be involved in the study of Torah. Not lilmod Torah, we don't begin with, not to learn Torah, but lasok b'divrei Torah, to be thoroughly immersed in the study of Torah. And we continue. V'harev na Hashem Elokeinu s'lascha b'finu. God, please make sweet and enjoyable the Torah in our mouths. So it's not enough, and it's not actually our ideal to be involved in Torah in a way we are not thoroughly enjoying it, but on the contrary, we should be totally immersed and involved in a manner in which the words of Torah are raising our soul, and raising our spirits, and giving us the deepest satisfaction. This has been a year of a tremendous amount of learning in the yeshiva, outside of the classroom, in the classroom too. I mean, in addition, outside of the classroom. So we're here tonight really not simply celebrating the young men who are speaking tonight, but really the entire year and the entire yeshiva, as you could see in the booklet, all of the learning has been done the entire year. I would like to call out Rabbi Safir, who has really been leading the Masminim program. The amount of guys in the Beis Medrash, I find them here at night. Friday afternoon, I'll walk in at 2:30, 3 o'clock this past week. A guy sitting and learning under his direction different nights. He has had a tremendous impact on all the guys coming in to learn. So many people here learning. And today I walk in, I see guys sitting in a room. He's learning Mishnayos. Just saw him get started with that. We have that Mishnayos program, another one that has been started that we're very thankful for. And of course, the Model Bezdin program, which really was a very big joy for me to be a part of. This year I didn't get to go, but I was able to be involved really in the main part of it, which really is the preparation, which is a tremendous experience. I want to thank all of our sponsors who are making it possible to go. The shuls that have sponsored the learning of our school, which is really, of course, all of the young men who are here in this town. And I want to give one introduction over here. As we're going to have the Model Bezdin members team present to us what they studied and learned and presented at Atlanta College this past weekend. There are 6 boys, and they're going to be presenting 2 sides. Keep in mind that one argument does not build on the other for the most part. So if there's one fellow got up something and you didn't follow, don't say, okay, that's it, I'm done. Really, each presentation, each piece, each argument stands by itself. So if you found that one of them you didn't follow, sometimes tendency that's it, I'm done, until we move on to the whole next section. But each argument stands separately, so I urge you to just pay attention, and when the next fellow comes up, give it your ear, and you should be able to follow the next argument. So again, as I mentioned, the Model Bezdin was a special joy for me to be a part of preparing. I want to thank Rabbi Azugi, who led the team and went to New York with them. And without taking up any more time, again, I would like to ask Avi Klein to begin the presentations tonight.
As the pasuk states, "Ki yeshvu achim yachdav umeis echad mehem uvein ein lo lo sieh eshes hameis hachutza liish zar yivama yava aleha ulakacha lo leisha v'yibma." This pasuk teaches us about the Jewish custom and mitzvah of doing yibum. Yibum is when a man is married to a woman and this man sadly dies. This woman is now obligated to do yibum, which would be marrying her brother-in-law. Or we also learn about something called chalitza, which is a process in which this woman and her brother-in-law can do in order to get out and so that this woman can go marry someone else. This year, the model based in topic and story was about a woman named Helena Spitzer who lived in New York. She was married and her husband went to war and died at war. Her only brother-in-law was a mumar. We title him a mumar, as someone who denied all of Torah, all of mitzvot, married a non-Jewish woman, and lived in Germany and did not consider himself a Jew. This man denied and refused to do yibum or chalitza with this woman. And now our question is there a bond between this brother-in-law and this wife, and they would have to do yibum, or can this woman go and marry someone else at her own will? Firstly, there is not a single Gemara in any of Shas that gives this case of a mumar who has to do yibum. Yet there are many other cases of those who are exempt from doing yibum or chalitza. So this shows us that a mumar is actually not exempt from doing yibum or chalitza. Secondly, there is a Mishnah that states, "Mi sheisho ach mikom makom zokekes eshes achiv liyibum va'achiv hu l'chol davar chutz mimi sheisho ach min hashifra u'min avodas kochavim." This Mishnah is saying how all brothers are required to do yibum and chalitza, except that one which is a son of a shifra and a son of a avodas kochavim, a goy. This can be if two brothers share the same father but different mothers. So one of the brother's mother is not Jewish, or so on. So now, in this Mishnah, it gives two exceptions of people who would have to do yibum or chalitza. It says that this type of person would not have to. And it specifically doesn't mention a mumar. And a mumar is not a new phenomenon, it's rather an old one, so it couldn't have been that the Gemara just forgot to put it in. It specifically did not put it in because a mumar is not exempt from doing yibum or chalitza.
There's a law that talks about that if a man wants to convert to Judaism, he has to go to the mikveh first. And regarding this, the Gemara in Yevamos says, Taval ve'Allah, a man who went to the mikveh to convert, Hareu ki shalachol dvarav, is considered a full-fledged Jew. The Mayal Chasa, what halachas derived from this? Di hadar be'u mekadesh bas Yisrael, that if this man returned to his Gentile ways and married a Jewish woman, Yisrael mumar krinabe, he's called a Yisrael mumar, the kiddush of kiddushin, and his marriage is completely kosher. We see from this that regardless of the fact he's a mumar, he's harei k'shal chadar, he's a full-fledged Jew, and kiddush of kiddushin, his marriage is completely kosher. Yibum, which is a type of kiddushin, the same law would apply. He's a full-fledged Jew, and she requires yibum from her brother-in-law. And someone who's eligible for yibum is also eligible for chalitza. Therefore, in our case, she requires chalitza from her brother-in-law. In modern day halacha, we cannot derive halachos from Gemaras and Mefarshim. We have to go to the poskim and give us the modern day psak halacha. The Rambam and the Mishnah Torah Hilchot Yibum v'Chalitza says, "Mi sheyesh lo ach mikol makom, afilu mamzer או עובד עבודה זרה, כאילו הרי זה זוקק את אשתו לייבום." The Rambam says, whoever has a brother-in-law who's a mamzer or an idol worshiper, a woman will still have be noble to yibum to this brother-in-law. The Rambam here clearly, and we know that anyone who's an idol worshiper is like he rejects all of Judaism. The Rambam here clearly holds that a woman who has a brother-in-law who's a mumar, she does fall to yibum. Now you might say, we don't always pass him like the Rambam. So go to the Shulchan Aruch. He says, "Mi sheyesh lo ach ma'aviv, afilu mamzer, או עובד עבודת כוכבים, הרי זה זוקק את אשתו לייבום." Here, the Shulchan Aruch agrees with the Rambam. He says that if you have a brother-in-law who's a mamzer or an idol worshiper, the woman would still fall to yibum even if her brother-in-law was a mumar. Now there are some opinions who say, there's Sifdal does say, נפלה לפני אבי מומר, יש מישהו מתיר, אם היה מומר כשנשא אחיו, ונסמוך עליו. There are opinions who do say that the woman would not be nafal to Yibum if her brother-in-law was a mumar, but it continues and says, "Ve'en li smoch alav." We should not rely on these opinions. Now that we have Sephardim down, what about Ashkenazim? The Ramah clears this up and says, "Miu ma'avram esed belo chalitza, ki lo yada shaya layavem, v'achar kach noda shaya layavem, umar lo tetzeh." The Ramah says that if a woman married without chalitza and she didn't know she had a brother-in-law who existed, we do not force her to divorce. But this is only if she didn't know she had a brother-in-law who existed who was a mumar. Otherwise, she wouldn't be nafal to Yibum. Now we see the Shulchan Aruch, the Rambam, and the Ramah all agree the woman would be nafal to Yibum.
Another reason is that there should be Yibum is brought down by the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon brings down a Gemara that brings down a pasuk from Yoshua. So let me just set the stage for you right now. Yoshua is where Bnei Yisrael conquered Israel. The first battle that they have is at Yericho, and they are victorious. The second battle is at Ai, and they are not victorious there. Now Yeshua is distraught. He's like, what happened? Why did we lose? Did Hashem leave us? Hashem comes up to him and says, you know why we lost? Chata Yisrael. That's what the pasuk says. So the Gemara asks, why does it need to say Chata Yisrael? Couldn't it have said Chata or say Chata a different way? So why specifically Chata Yisrael? So it says, Af Chata Yisrael, who that even though he sinned, he's still Yisrael. Therefore, we see that a mumar, aka someone who has sinned, is still Yisrael. And because he's a Yisrael, he would be chayav in Yibum or Chalitza, and there would be a connection between the mumar and this woman whose husband has died.
So Rashi says, Rashi's saying that you cannot rely upon these opinions of no Zika because they have no, they're not valid. And furthermore, the Marik brings down that Rabbi Yehuda Gaon, the main posik for no Zika, said Marik says that his students must have snuck this position into his writing because he was blind, and that's how he never knew.
Okay, so before I give one final proof why there should be Zika with a mumar in our case, we'll give a quick summary of all the points the team has said so far. So first, Avi Klein mentioned that there's no Gemara in all of Shas that includes an exception of why mumar should not be zokek to Yibum, should not be linked to Yibum. And then even the Mishnah that does mention certain exceptions does not mention a mumar as one of the exceptions. And more than that, we have from the poskim that we hold by today, the Shulchan Aruch, Rambam, and Ramah. So the Shulchan Aruch and Rambam both hold that there is Zika, there is a connection to Yibum for a mumar. And the Ramah is the only one who's lenient, but he's only lenient in a case where it's a b'diavad. So from that we can see that everyone holds that there is Zika with a mumar. So now I'm going to give one more proof. So one of the Mishnah says, Mishnah Mesech and Yevamos, Misha Esha Achmi Kol Makom Zoke says Eshes Achiv Yibum. So one who has a brother, any type of brother, he is linked to his sister-in-law through Yibum. So then Gemara says, Mikol Makom Lasuyei Mai. Any kind of brother, what does that come to include? So Amar Rav Yehuda Lasuyei Mamzer. So Rav Yehuda says that comes to include a mamzer. So, but how do we know this? So Gemara says, Kevan Dil Inyan Yibum Mifter Nifatar Mizkak Nami Zakek. So what the Gemara is saying there is that let's say we have a case where there's a couple and they have no kids, and then the husband has forbidden relations with another married woman, not the woman he's married to, and they have a child, and now the husband dies, he has no kids with his actual wife. So this mamzer child is going to exempt the mother, the real wife, not the mother, the wife of the husband from having to do yibum, even though she herself has no children. So too, that she is pater, exempt from yibum, from this mamzer child. If the mamzer is a brother in the case, where the couple has no children, the mamzer is a brother of the deceased husband, so too he's going to be linked to yibum in that case. So now we're going to apply that same logic to a mumar. If there's a couple, and their only child is a mumar, and now the husband or the father dies, this child is going to exempt the mother from doing yibum. So too, if this mumar is a brother of the deceased husband and they have no children, this mumar brother is going to be zokek and linked to yibum with his sister-in-law.
So now that we've seen all these proofs for why there should be a connection between the mumar and the wife of the husband who died, we must look at what the rabbis actually held in this case. And what they held was that there would be no connection between the mumar and the wife of the husband who died. Now, why is this? The other side seems so perfect. There was no real flaws in that. So let's start exploring this. Now, the pasuk, when it comes to Yibum, says, "Yeshu achem yachdav," right? When brothers are living together, and we want to focus on the word brothers. Now, the Mordechai brings down Rav Yudai, the main posek for Nozika, and he says, "Because of Rav Yudai, ik nasva bal have yavim mumar, lo ba'ech leitzminei." So if the yavam, the person that would need to do yibum, is a mumar, that there's no chalitza. Why? The high lavachafu, because he's not his brother. Now, you're going to think, what does that even mean? That he's not his brother? Of course he's his brother. So we have to understand is that in the Torah, when it says brother, it can mean two things. Ach b'leda, that a blood brother by birth, or ach b'mitzvos, a brother that's your brother in mitzvos, that does mitzvos just like you. Now, we see this brought down in Masechus Avodah Zarah, that where there's a case of where a mumar, that we just have to clarify that a mumar is a really evil person, that he's turning over Jews to the government, he is doing everything that he can to hurt Jews and Judaism and try to stop people from learning Hashem's Torah. Now, this kind of person, we would put him in a pit and we would not help him out of one. So Rabbi Yochanan, who heard this, said, Amar le, ani shona l'chol avedas achicha l'rabas zemumar. That, wait a second, when it comes to a shavas aveda, returning a lost object, it says l'chol avedas achicha. That all of your brothers lost objects. Why does it say all? To include the mumar. V'adamar hayu maridim, and we're gonna put him in a pit. So we're gonna put him in a pit, and we're gonna return his lost object. That can't be. That does not make sense. So some may become mumar. So we're gonna take away mumar from the previous statement of putting him in a pit. Now the Gemara is gonna. Now it seems like we've kind of dug ourselves a little bit of a hole here. That this is actually for the other side. But if we read further, Velishnile. So the Gemara asks, why didn't Rabbi Yevo answer this? That over here by Hashavas Aveda, it's someone who has a lot of desires, right? So he desires this, and he does, and then because of this, he ends up doing all these averos, and that's why we call him a mumar. But when it comes to putting someone in a pit and not helping them out, that's someone who does it just to spite God. He does it everything. He wants to go against Judaism and against Jewish beliefs. And that kind of person, we wouldn't do Hashavas Aveda, and we would put him in a pit. Now why? Because it says Ach Kicha, and this would mean Ach B'mitzvos. And we further see this in the Ramban, who brings down, when it comes to ribis, which is interest, the pasuk says Lo Sashech Le'achicha. And it says Achicha, that the Isser of ribis is that you can't take interest from another Jew. Now, when it comes to a mumar, the Ramban brings down that there is no Isser of ribis, of interest. You can take interest from a mumar. Why? Lo Mikri Achicha Klal, because he's not your brother at all. And because he's not called your brother, and he's not your Ach B'mitzvos, therefore, there is no Isser of ribis. Now, if we look back at the Mordechai, we see that the Hailav Achafu is making it so that he's saying that it needs to be an Ach B'mitzvos. Why? Because it says Ach by the pasuk in Yibam. Now, what you might say, like the Kesos does say, is that Ach B'mitzvos can only apply where it's not necessary, where it would be extra to say the word Ach. By ribis and by Hashavas Aveda, l'chol avedas achicha, I could have used a different word. And by ribis lo sashech achicha, I could have used a different word. But by Yibum, We actually see earlier in the Torah, there's a different Yibum that is kosher, that's with the father-in-law. So maybe there we could say that was Yehuda and Tamar. And maybe we could say, maybe Yibum could be that. But we see that it says ach, it's needed to say ach. But there's an idea of deracheh darchei noam, that the ways of the Torah are pleasant. And because the ways of the Torah are pleasant, when we're trying to understand something, if it doesn't make sense that the Torah would say that, then we can learn out that it's the nicer way, that it's the more pleasant way. So by Yibum, it does not make sense that the Torah would put this woman and make a connection with the Mumar. It does not make sense that the Torah would put those two together. So, therefore, we can see that it does not only mean ach baleda, that a blood brother, but also ach b'mitzvah, someone that does mitzvahs with them. Now, if we look at the Mordechai one more time, just a little bit closer, we'll see something a little bit more interesting. Because really, why are my colleagues about to get up here and give a bunch more reasons for why there should not be Zika? Rav Yudai gives a great answer, great reasoning. His halacha makes sense. Why are they about to come up here and give more reasons? Now, here's why. The Mordechai brings down, because of Rav Yudai, Ik nasva bal have yavim mumar. Case number 1, lo boy chalitza mine. There's no chalitza, which is halacha number 1. Vim haya bal mumar v'yashu tachta b'onei sumeis m'rasa below bonim. Case number 2, Eid is kukul yavim. Halacha number 2. Zahai lavachavu, and then it gives the reason. So we see that because it breaks it up as such, and it's got 2 different sets of halachos, and it does not just group the 2 cases and give one halacha, and then the reason, though it may apply to the first one, Rav Yudai might have had a second reason in mind. And that reason could very well be one of my colleagues' reasons, as long as it fits within the framework of Rav Yudai's opinion. So without further ado, here are my colleagues.
The second reason is brought by the Or Zarua. And as we state under the chuppah, by the Kedushin process, we say, as the man gives the ring to the woman, we say, Harei ad mikudeshet li kedat Moshe Yisrael, in the name of the Rabbanan. So we see from this that the Kedushin process is subject to the will of the Rabbanan. And we also have a halacha of Kodem Mekadesh Adat Rabbanan Mekadesh, that anything that is subject to the will of the Rabbanan, meaning Kedushin that is subject to the will of the Rabbanan, can also be nullified by the Rabbanan. And this halacha is written in 5 places in Shas. And I'll give one example that it gives. A man is going away for travel, for war, for something, and he gives his wife a get and says, if I'm not back within 30 days, this get is fulfilled and we are divorced. 30 days pass, let's say 40 days pass, and he comes back and he says it was an onus, it was a delay, there's traffic, there's something, I got stuck there. So now, according to the Torah, D'oraisa, these 2 people are still married since it was an onus, and the get is mevato, it's nullified. The Rabbanan come and say that they are divorced. They are actually divorced, and this woman can go marry anyone else, and this man can go and marry anyone else. So we can say, how can the Rabbanan do this? How can they go against the Torah? They do this because of Kol Mekadesh Adat Rabbanan Mekadesh. And then we can also ask, why would they do this? If the Torah just gives a clear thing, why would they do this? We say this is to protect the woman from violating tznius and protecting her from pritzus. Tznius is when this woman will wait indefinitely, and she'll wait until she knows that she's for sure divorced with her husband until he comes back, and then either she'll be unmarried for too long, or he might not come back because he was actually planning on getting divorced, and she'll just be waiting unmarried when he had no intent of coming back. But then pritzus is when right after 30 days, this woman will go and marry someone else. And then they'll have kids, and then their kids will be mamzerim because this guy meant to come back within 30 days, but then he didn't because he just got stuck. So now they should still be married, but she's married to someone else. So now bringing it to our case with Helena Spitzer, the Rabbanan come and say that the original Kedushin with this woman and her late husband is nullified due to Kol Mekadesh Adat Rabbanan Mekadesh in order to protect her from violating tznius and having to be with her brother-in-law.
Maram Rottenberg brings down the reason of Adat Dahachi Lo Kitch Nafsha, that the Kiddushin is batal due to the condition that she had in her marriage, that if she were to require Yibum from her brother-in-law, the marriage would be nullified. There is a law that if a man were to steal from his fellow Jew, and that Jew died, the man has to pay the money to the man's closest relatives. But if the man were to steal from a convert, and the convert halachically has no relatives, the man has to pay the money to the Kohen. Now it's not necessarily that he owes money to the Kohen, but he needs atonement for the Avera he did. But if the man were to lie in court and say he did not steal from the convert, in addition to the money, he has to bring a Kerban Asham. Now, the case the Mishnah discussed in Bava Kama is where a man brought the money to the Kohen. Kerban was designated but never brought, and then he died. The Mishnah says, Nasa Kesel Anshe Mishmar Meis, he gave the money to the Anshe Mishmar, to the Kohanim, and died. Ein Hayosh Nechol Lehotzim Yadam. The inheritors cannot demand the money back from the Kohen. The Gemara says, Amar Abai says, Shma Mina Kesem Chav Mechza. We learn out from here that when only the money is brought and not the Kerban, the money gives like a half kapara. Di'ilu mechaper, that if we're given no kapara, hava amina mehadel yorshin, I would have thought that the money should return to the inheritors. My time, what's the reason? Adata dahachi lo yahiv lei, that when the man brought the money, he brought the money on the condition that this money would give him atonement. Now it's very interesting that Bai should say this, because there is a Gemara in Kiddushin that speaks about a concept of dvarim shebalev ein dvarim, that things that are done in the heart, they're not considered words. And it brings there the case of a man who thought he was marrying a rich woman. Turns out she was poor. He cannot nullify the marriage because dvarim shebalev ein dvarim. And it seems to be why Abai is not concerned for this Gemara is because by over there in the Gemara Kiddushin, the only reason the marriage is not nullified because we're not quite sure why he's marrying the woman. He could be marrying her for her economic status, or he could be marrying her because he wants to be with her. While over here with the money, it's quite clear why he has to have. Shouldn't she not have chalitza? Because when she got married, she had this condition that when she got married, that if she needs yibum from her brother-in-law, the marriage would be nullified. So the Gemara answers, Hasam. Over there, that over there we said that she have some small benefits. She'd be willing to put up with her husband. As Reish Lakish would say, a woman would rather be with someone than to be alone. The Mordechai explains the Gemara's answer as perish nichal avakodu, that she'd be willing she'd be okay with anybody, even if he's someone with stricken with this skin disorder. But the Mordechai makes a distinction between a mumar and a mukesh shchin. He says that the mumar she would not be willing to be with him because the mumar would make her do all kinds of violation that she would not be willing to do. While the Rashi explains the answer as the Gemara's answer as liskadish leishon shushalim al savik zeshim yamos tiskach la'achiv, that she'd rather marry to the husband with no doubt, even if that means a risk of one day might require yibum from her brother-in-law. They perhaps say the same distinction from the Mordechai to Rashi, that she'd be willing to take the risk for a mukesh shchin, someone who has a skin disorder, but not for a mumar. Now, this reasoning is not ironclad due to the fact what Tosus counts in the Gemara. Because Tosus says this Gemara is not from someone who's been married, but someone who just had Kiddushin. He says, over the case of the money in the Mishnah, if not for the atonement, the money would be given back since the purpose of the money was not met. But here, by Nisuin, someone who's been married for 20 years and the purpose was met, of course, she'd be nafal to Yibum. So the Tosus answers, the Gemara must be talking about when she just had Kiddushin and the purpose was not met. Then the Gemara asks, according to Abaya's reasoning, a woman who just had Kiddushin, would she require Yibum from her brother-in-law who has this mukesh shchin? But regardless of other Rishon like the Mordechai to rely on, who say that even if she was married, there is no Yibum. Now, everyone learns this Gemara that the Kiddushin is batal, but perhaps it might be wrong. You see, the Maram gave the reason that the Kiddushin is nullified due to the fact of Adada Dahachi. But the Maram was afraid to make the psak, and he was machmer like Rashi, his shita was that there is Yibum with the mumar no matter what the situation. But the Maram did comment that when the woman had two brother-in-laws, one's a mumar and one's a kosher brother, one to be machmer, and chalitza must be done with a kosher brother. Since we're concerned for shitas of the geonim who say there's no yibum with a mumar, therefore chalitza needs to own the kosher brother. But when her only brother-in-law is a mumar, we want to be machmer, and therefore chalitza needs to be done with a mumar, since we're concerned for Shittas Rashi, who says that there is yibum with a mumar, no matter what the situation. Now it's very hard to understand the psak of the Maharam, because when the woman has two brother-in-laws, one's a kosher brother, one's a mumar, shouldn't the mumar be able to do chalitza? Since if the presence of the kosher brother and the marriage is not nullified, therefore the mumar should be able to do chalitza. And if the presence of the mumar nullifies the marriage, then why does anyone need to do chalitza? The Rav Yofen asks a question to answer this question. He says, why should the kiddushin be nullified if she just do chalitza with the mukesh skin, the guy with the skin disorder? And he answers, the pshat in the Gemara is not that the kiddushin is nullified, but if there were yibum, then the kiddushin would be nullified. But yibum is impossible due to the condition she had in her marriage. And then we have a separate halacha that says, eino ola yibum, eino ola chalitza. Someone who's not eligible for yibum is not eligible for chalitza. But when the woman has two brother-in-laws, one's a mumar and one's a kosher brother, the reason I just stated applies to a mumar. But chalitza or yibum is still necessary for the kosher brother, since there is no condition for the kosher brother that she had in her marriage. And the marriage is not nullified, and therefore chalitza still needs to be done with the kosher brother.
So the pasuk by Yibam states, that the person, the brother who's doing Yibam, he's to establish and maintain the name of his brother, his deceased brother, so that his name should not be erased from Israel. So clearly we see from this pasuk that the establishing and maintaining the name of his brother is an inherent part of the mitzvah, and without it, you cannot fulfill Yibam. So seemingly, as we'll see from the Ritva, that a mumar, someone who cannot maintain and establish the name, he cannot do that, as he has no interest in even establishing his own name. As the Ritva says, someone who disregards the entire Torah and does not keep the entire Torah, like our mumar in our case, how could this person establish and maintain the seed of others? So that's what we have in our case. The mumar in our case, he cannot establish and maintain his brother's name because he himself he does not keep the Torah. And the Rambam brings his point out further as he talks about what a mumar is. He said, "Apikoros from Yisrael, einon ki Yisrael." Now, apikoros from Israel is not like Yisrael. Harei yotzei min haklal. He's outside of the nation. V'kofer ve'ikar v'nikra tzaduki v'apikoros. And we give him every bad name in the book. It's tzaduki and kofer. It's impossible for this person, seemingly, to be established and maintain the name of his brother. So now you might think that what does it matter what the reason is for the mitzvah, is that yibum is yibum, and in terms of the actual halacha of the mitzvah, it says yibum, so we do yibum regardless of the reason. So we see from the Gemara in Abba Metzia that cites machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda always holds, except for our case, we'll see. He always holds that you do not darshan the reason for the mitzvah. But Rabbi Shimon, he does darshan the time for the reason. But it was in this Gemara, it talks about it says lo yarbel lo nashim lo yasur, that a king should not have so many wives, so that he should not turn off the path. But even Rabbi Yehuda, who usually holds that you do darshan the time for the reason for the mitzvah, that you don't darshan the reason for the mitzvah, he holds that it's okay for a king to have a lot of wives as long as he doesn't turn off the path, because it says v'lo yasor in the pasuk, the reason in the pasuk. So too by our case of mamar, where by our case of yibum, where it says the reason for yibum in the pasuk, even there, Rabbi Yehuda, who usually does not darshan the reason for the mitzvah, even he would hold that if you do not fulfill the reason of the mitzvah, then you're not fulfilling yibum at all. And that this reason is not just some nice reason that we're darshaning to make yibum like a nicer thing, but it's actually the mitzvah itself. However, the Ritva who brings this down, even he is unwilling to darshan this, and he would say that there would be zika in our case, even though seemingly what we just said would indicate that there's no zika. He holds that there is zika, as he holds that the reason in the pasuk is not a reason to paskin the halacha that way, because there's no Gemara that would indicate otherwise, as my colleague will now explain further.
So, many sources So the Rambam said. Oh, there are many sources that say that there are many sources that say that a mumar cannot inherit, and that to inherit to be able to do yibum you need to inherit. All right, so we find that you need to be able to do yibum by inheriting. Inheritance is a crucial part of yibum. Find this from the pasuk ki yashu achim yachtav, and the Bible learns out from the Talmud Bible learns from the word yachtav that has to be united inheritance for there to be yibum. Okay, so in the Rashi in the pasuk Rashi in the pasuk says it means the alive brother has to take over the inheritance rights of the dead brother to the father. Okay, and then the Rosh writes in the name of Rav Mashuli, and Rav Mordechai brings on Rav Tzedek that all these opinions say that a mumar cannot inherit, and so if a mumar cannot exercise his own inheritance rights towards his father, how is he ever supposed to take over his brother's inheritance rights? So therefore, there would be no yibum in the case where a mumar is doing the yibum or chalitza. Okay, and here is another approach. That really a mumar is like a goy. And the Rambam says this, and he says that a mumar is a goy and all is not Jewish, cannot practice Judaism, but is still Jewish, he cannot practice Judaism. And he says that he is effectively like a goy in all of his manners. Okay, this seems to be in direct contradiction with the Gemara that says he's Yisrael b'chol derav, and his kedushin will be kedushin. And so, really, this Gemara is coming to teach us that he's not really a mumar once he does kedushin, because he's doing a maaseh yudit, or a Jewish action, showing us that he's actually trying to participate in Judaism by, instead of going to the church and asking I'm going to get married, and they say you're not husband and wife and whatever, he's going to the rabbi and saying, all right, how can I do this in a halakhically okay way? How do I do this? I want to do it. All right. So another approach is, but by yibum, he's not doing anything. He's not doing any maaseh yudit or Jewish action. He's just doing his work, and then his brother died. He's not doing anything whatsoever. So there would be no yibum. All right. So but then you're gonna ask me, what about the Gemara that says kedushin is kedushin, and and kedushin is kedushin? This Gemara is coming to teach us that a converted Jew who then goes back to acting like a Gentile, this Gemara teaches that he'll never need a new conversion to practice Judaism, and it's just like a born Jew will never need a new conversion to practice Judaism. Okay, and then but there will still be a mumar, and if you're still a mumar, you're effectively a goy, and like you cannot practice Judaism until you do a maaseh yudut, and so by yibum a mumar cannot do yibum.
My colleagues have come up here and explained to you many reasons why the woman should not be nafil with a yibum. I would like to give one final answer to support this claim. The halacha is that if two sons come from the same mother, have different fathers, there is no yibum. This is called achim na'em. This is learned from the pasuk. Ki yeshvu achim yachdav. The two brothers must dwell together. The Rishani learns. Rav Avon bar Bishna b'shem Rav Natan devet Guvrin yeshvu. Rav Avon and Bet Guvrin darshan yashvu. Et yeshivatim bebayit echad. They must dwell under one house. Yatzu achim na'em. This excludes achim na'em. This one goes to his father's side, and this one goes to his father's side. They don't dwell under the same house. So therefore, there should be no yibum. And so too, we apply this logic to our case, where one brother is a mumar, and one brother is an Israel. One completely rejects Torah, while one accepts Torah. These two cannot live under the same house, and therefore, there is no yibum. Finally, the Torah brings down the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Gaon, who supports the claim that if the brother-in-law is a mumar, there should be no yibum.
So Rabbi Azuki comes up for a second. I do want to just thank the boys myself, and then also point out we're not reading from any speeches, any texts. Imagine a tremendous amount of work to get a team of 6 to be able to come up, first in New York and now here, and present. There was nothing to read from, just having learned through the topic. And so I just want to personally give you guys a lot of congratulations.
So Yasher Koach. So I had the zchut together with Rabbi Gersten to learn with this beautiful group through the last weeks, every night and on Sunday, and then going together to Queens to spend Shabbat there and present their idea, what they thought. And I learned a few things. Number one, I learned that Queens is not for me. Number two,
Memphis though.
and number two, really to see how the Torah become really part of who they are. And this is, I think, the beautiful of this program. A brief story. I remember about more than 10 years ago, there was a terrorist attack in Yeshivat Merkaz Arav. And since this terrorist attack, there were groups of non-religious kids who came to the yeshiva to see what is it, Yeshivat Merkaz Arav. And I used to take them to the yeshiva library and to show them all the books and to explain them about the idea that through the history, every generation there are new questions, halacha questions, and like Jewish philosophy questions, and every generation based on previous generation bring his own part in the Torah, his own answer, and that's how the Torah grow. And I invite them to be part of this beautiful process. And I think this case that they said so beautifully is a great example that they become actually part of this beautiful genre, not just to see this beautiful Beis Midrash and all these beautiful books in the shelves, but actually to open them and become really part of this beautiful thing that's called Torah. And you can actually see how it goes from the Psukim to the Gemara. We have Geonim here, Rishonim, Achronim, and these young guys part of this beautiful process. So again, Yasher Koach Gadol to all of you, and thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ruben Stein, and I'm here to discuss this fascinating topic with you. What was Moshe's real name, and why doesn't the Torah use it? There's a pasuk right at the beginning of Shemot, which tells us something very important about how Moshe received the name he is known by. V'yigdal ha'yeled v'tivehu labat paro, v'hi la laven, v'tikra shemo Moshe, v'tomer ki min hamayim mishtihu. The child grew up, and she brought him to Paro's daughter, and he became like her son. She named him Moshe, and she said, "For I drew him from the water." The following famous teaching by our sages in the Midrash, Rabbah, explains this pasuk. Vatikra shemo Moshe, mikana talamed sachran shel gomle chasadim, af al pi sheharbe shemot hayu lo leMoshe. Lo nikba lo shem chol haTorah, ela kamo shekar atu b'tia bat paro. Ba'af hakadosh baruch hu lo kara b'shem acher. The Midrash teaches us an incredible lesson about how Hashem values the trait of hakarat hatov, expressing our appreciation to those who have been kind to us. Consider this for a moment. Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest leader that the Jewish people ever did know and ever will know. Yet we never refer to him by the name of his own Jewish parents gave him at birth. Instead, throughout the entire Torah, he is called by the name given to him by the Egyptian princess, the daughter of the same Paro who refused to release the Bnei Yisrael from slavery. The same Paro who is known as one of the greatest enemies the Jewish people have ever known. According to the Midrash, the Torah is teaching us an outstanding lesson by always referring to our great Redeemer by the name given to him by Paro's daughter. The Torah is telling us how important it is to recognize and share our appreciation to those who have acted kindly towards us. True, Moshe's parents brought him into this world and certainly gave him a Jewish name. However, if it is not for Paro's daughter, the world would never have met the little Jewish baby whose mother placed him in a basket in the Nile River. It was Paro's daughter Batya who found the little crying boy and heroically chose to raise him to be a strong, healthy, and courageous young man. It's no wonder that the Torah rewarded Batya, the Egyptian princess, by always referring to the great Jewish leader by the name Moshe, which she had given him. After all, Bacha saved his life. What a powerful lesson in our obligation to express our hakarat tov, or gratitude, to those who have done good for us. Let me share with you a great story that relates the idea of hakarat tov. Captain Charles Plum was a U.S. Navy jet pilot during the Vietnam War. After flying 75 combat missions, his plane was shot down by a missile. As his plane was going down in flames, Captain Plum ejected from his fighter jet. As he ejected from his fighter jet, he landed into the enemy hands. He survived the crash, but was captured and spent the next 6 years in a miserable communist Vietnamese prison until the war ended, and then he was released back to the United States. One day, about 10 years ago, Charles Plum and his wife were sitting in a restaurant in Kansas City when a total stranger at another table suddenly came up to him and says, "You're Charles Plum. You were shot down." Plum was shocked. After all, he didn't know who this person was. "How in the world did he know so much about me?" asked Plum. The man smiled and simply replied, "I packed your parachute." Plum gasped in surprise and gratitude. The man shook his hand enthusiastically, smiled, and says, "I guess it worked." Plum assured him, "It sure did. If the chute you hadn't packed worked, I wouldn't be here today." Charlie Plum couldn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about this man he had met in the restaurant. Plum tells his listeners, "I kept wondering what he had looked like. I kept wondering what he had looked like decades ago in the Navy uniform. His white hat, a bib in the back, and bell-bottom trousers. I wonder how many times I have passed him and not even said, 'Good morning, how are you, how are you doing,' or anything, because back then I saw myself as an important macho fighter and a fighter pilot, and I sadly looked down upon guys like him, just as regular sailors." Plum thought of many unappreciated hours that sailors must have spent at a long wooden table in the deep bowels of the aircraft carrier, carefully folding the silks of each parachute and holding in his hands the fate of someone that they didn't even know. Whenever he shares this story, Charlie Plum asks his audience, "Who packed your parachute?" After all, everyone has someone who provided him or her with what he or she needs to make it through the day. Plum also points out that he needed many types of parachutes along his journey. His physical parachute, his mental parachute, his emotional parachute, and his spiritual parachute. He called on one of these each support systems before he eventually reached to safety. Sometimes, in the daily challenges that life gives us, we miss what is really important. We sometimes fail to say hello, please, and most important, thank you. We may neglect to congratulate someone on something wonderful that has happened to them, to give them a compliment, or to just do something nice for someone that for no good reason at all. Charlie Plum challenges his audience to start recognizing the people in their lives who packed their parachutes. As we prepare for Pesach, let's each remember the lessons the Torah teaches us by referring to Moshe by the name Batya, the daughter of Paro, gave him, instead of the name by his own parents gave him. Let's all make sure we thank the people in our lives who packed our parachute. Have a Chag Sameach, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Although there are many mitzvahs that have brachos before doing them, there is a number that don't have brachos. Chuvas Rashba discusses which mitzvahs have brachos and which ones do not. For example, tzedakah and kibbud av don't. So what is the rule for mitzvahs to have a bracha? Another example of a mitzvah that doesn't get a bracha is hashmatas kesafim. We know about regular shmita, the mitzvah that every 7 years you have to refrain from working the field. There's another mitzvah on the Shemitah year to forgive all loans. The Rashba says that there's no bracha when doing the mitzvah of forgiving loans. Why not? Forgiving loans isn't a mitzvah to do anything. It's the refraining from collecting the loan. Even in a case where the borrower wants to repay the loan to the lender, and the lender needs to say, "I relinquish the loan." That's not an active relinquishment of the loan. The borrower is already exempt from repaying, and the lender is just expressing the fact that the Torah canceled the debt. There's a mitzvah to do bedikas chametz. On the night before Pesach, there's a rabbinic obligation to search one's house and rid it of all the chametz. What happens if one isn't home the night before Pesach? For example, someone who's traveling. The Torah in Simon Reish Lamed Vav, it discusses someone who's traveling within 30 days of Pesach and is required to do B'dika before leaving. If he forgets to do B'dika, it's imperative that he does Bittul on the Chametz on the night of the 14th, the night that everyone else does B'dika. Because without doing Bittul, he's going to have Chametz in his possession during Pesach, which is a very serious Avera. The question is, what about a bracha on the Bittul? Is there a bracha on the Bittul or not? The first opinion on the Torah quotes, that depends on if he knows that he has Chametz in the house. If he knows there's Chametz, he makes a bracha on the Bittul. If he doesn't know, he still does Bittul, but he doesn't make a bracha. The Torah argues on this point and says, V'nira shafili yodea shesh lo chametz beveso ein tzarich levarech. That he holds that there's no bracha for the Bittul, even if he knows that there's no Chametz in the house. Why is this the case? The Torah explains, she'ikar bittul belibo, v'imechash belibo levatel sagi. That the way to do Bittul is by mentally negating the Chametz and deeming it hefker, or ownerless. And then there's no bracha on the mitzvah that doesn't have an action. But is this really true? Is Bittul only balev? I mean, we say kol chamira every single year. So what does the Torah mean when he says that there's no bracha because it's balev? The Torah answers and says that kol chamira is only a custom. The real fulfillment of Bittul is Bittul balev. The real fulfillment of Bittul is balev, and Chazal didn't make a bracha for something that's primarily balev. The Beis Yosef Siman Taf on the base asks, when doing B'dikas Chametz, the Torah recognizes Bittul as the primary way to get rid of Chametz, not the B'dika. So why should you make a bracha on the B'dika and not make a bracha on the Bittul? The Beis Yosef answers, V'yesh lomar, Bishum de Bittul have balev, ve'ein mevarchen al devarim shebalev. That Bittul is balev, and you simply don't say a bracha on something that's balev. So we can see from here a very fundamental idea, that when there's no action with regard to a mitzvah, there's no bracha with regard to that mitzvah. Hashmatas Kesafim nor Bittul Chametz are mitzvahs done without actions. Therefore, there's no bracha. So far we've seen that you only make a bracha on an action. There's no action with Bittul because it's primarily mental, so you don't need to make a bracha. There's a mitzvah called Hafrashas Truma. You need to separate Truma from produce and give it to a Kohen. If you have crops, you're required to designate a percentage of the crops to be Truma for the Kohen. Before this process occurs, the entire product is considered tevel, and it is an Isser D'Oraisa to eat from this. Once you designate your Truma, your crop is considered Cholin, and it's mutar for consumption, while the Truma goes to the Kohen. Even though we've been saying separating Truma, the following Gemara in Kedushin says that one doesn't actually need to separate the Truma in order to remove the Shem Tevel. He just needs to mentally designate a certain portion of the crop as Truma. The Mishnah in Kedushin says, Ha'ish Mekadesh Bo Bishlucho, that someone can appoint an agent on his behalf to be Mekadesh a woman. Meaning that if someone wants to marry someone out of town, but he doesn't want to travel all the way out there, he's able to appoint a shliach to deliver the ring for him, and upon delivery, she is married to the sender. So the Gemara then asks, Shlichus minalan, from where do we know that this process of shlichus can occur? The Gemara looks for sources from the Torah that someone can appoint an agent on his behalf. The Gemara first brings a source from a pasuk about Kedushin that someone can appoint an agent to deliver an object to marry on his behalf. The Gemara then cites a different drasha, Atem, Gam Atem l'Rabos et Shliach, that someone can appoint an agent to separate the truma for the owner. Once the agent designates the truma, the food changes from tevel and usher to eat to cholin and is allowed to be eaten. The Gemara then asks, why does the Torah need two sources for the source of shlichus? If there's already a pasuk for truma, why should we need another pasuk to teach us about kedushin? The Gemara also asks why there needs to be a pasuk about truma, if there's all pasuk about kedushin, but that's not for now. The Gemara answers, Shekain yeshna b'machshava, that truma is different than kedushin because truma is done b'machshava, or by thought. Rashi explains that when truma is done b'machshava, it means that you don't actually need to separate the truma from the pile. Noticing eina b'tzad zeh, the elchel b'tzad zeh, that you can focus your attention on one area of the pile to define that area as truma, and then automatically the rest of the pasuk is considered as if it's cholin, and you're allowed to eat. Therefore, when the Gemara said that the second pasuk is needed to teach shlichus, because the pasuk from truma isn't enough, it means that the truma has a leniency that kedushin does not have. In kedushin, a physical action is needed. An item needs to be given to the wife to effectuate the marriage. Truma only needs intent, however, though. you don't need to physically remove the truma to change the status of the crop. The only thing you need to do is you need to mentally designate it. Therefore, without the pasuk by kedushin, one would have thought that the leniency to appoint a messenger only applies by truma, because in another area of halacha, not requiring action, truma is also more lenient. Therefore, the Torah needs another pasuk to teach shlichus by kedushin. So we can see from the Gemara that truma doesn't need to be separated physically. Even mental designation seems to be enough. So what about a bracha on mentally designating the truma? Do we need to make a bracha, or do we not need to make one? So this is a machlokas rishonim. The Beis Yitzchak in a tshuva is medayek that there's no bracha according to the Rambam. The Rambam says, "Hifrish truma b'machshavto v'lahotzi v'sosav klum harezo truma," that it works to separate truma mentally. According to the Rambam, is someone allowed to take truma mentally? No. But the Rambam just said that it works if someone does it, but that it's not really allowed. So why is this the case? Why not? What's the problem with mentally designating truma? The Mishnah Truma states, "Chamisha lo yisromu v'im tarmu trumasan truma," that 5 people are lichatchila not allowed to separate truma, but if they do it, the truma is effective. The reason given in the Gemara Yerushalmi for why some of these people are not allowed to separate truma is because they simply can't say a bracha. The Beis Yitzchak says the Rambam is based on this Mishnah. Why does the Rambam hold Hifrish Machshavto isn't allowed? Because one can't make a bracha when doing so. So this is the same exact reason that the Mishnah prohibits certain people from taking truma. Why can't someone who mentally designates truma make a bracha? Just like we established earlier, that there's no bracha on bittul and hashmatas kesafim because they're only thoughts and lacking in action, so too, mental afresh is also lacking in action and therefore lacks a bracha. Since taking truma in this way causes one to lose a bracha, it's asur l'chachila. The Rambam understood the Gemara Kedushin the exact same way, that mentally designating truma works on a d'oraisa level, but one isn't allowed to do it because he can't make a bracha. The Rosh, however, seems to argue with the Rambam about the bracha on mental hafrasha. There's a big machlokas rishonim that you need to separate trumas maasros from fruits of chutz la'aretz, or outside of Israel. L'maisa, we don't do this for various reasons, but there's a lot of discussion about it with rayas back and forth in the Gemara. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah, Daf Nun Ches Amud Beis, tells the following story. Reish Lakish went to a city called Batzra and thought it was inside the borders of Eretz Yisrael, and told all the inhabitants that they were obligated to separate trumas and maasros. After relating this incident to Rabbi Yochanan responded to Reish Lakish that Batzra is outside of Eretz Yisrael, and the people there are not chayiv in trumas and maasros whatsoever. The Rosh in Avodah Zarah asks that many Gemaras say that produce even outside of Eretz Yisrael are chayiv in trumas and maasros. This seems, however, to contradict the Gemara in Cholin and Avodah Zarah that say that the produce would have been obligated were it inside Eretz Yisrael, but it's patur really because it's outside. The Rosh brings an answer from the Rabbeinu Tam. There are 2 different types of chiyuvim for trumas and maasros. One is vadai tevel, produce that's definitely chayiv in trumas and maasros, and the other is demai, produce that may have had trumas and maasros, separate from them already, but we can't be for certain. For example, produce that's sold by someone who is not careful about the mitzvah observance is called demai. It needs meiser separated even if the seller claims that he already took off meiser, because we cannot be for certain he's telling the truth. Also, another halacha about demai is that since it's only taken out of doubt, there's no bracha when separating the maasros. Rabbeinu Tam explains the Gemara in Avodah Zarah and Chulin that say that produce in chutz la'aretz isn't chayiv in trumas and maasros because it's only talking about demai, not vadai. The other Gemaras that imply produce chayiv in trumas and maasros are only talking about vadai tevel. The Rosh supports Rabbeinu Tam's answer by proving the Gemara in Chulin is only talking about demai, and that's why it's not chayiv in trumas and maasros. The Gemara in Chulin asks, "V'dil manasa in a b'tzad zev, echol b'tzad acher," that maybe Rabbi Meir really did separate trumas and maasros, but not by actually doing it, but by mentally designating it. So how could Rabbi Yeshua ben Zerus be certain that Rabbi Meir ate without mentally designating the portion of the produce as truma? The Rosh explains that this question only makes sense if the Gemara is talking about damai. If the Gemara was discussing vadai tevel, the Gemara wouldn't have questioned Rabbi Yeshua ben Zerus, because Rabbi Meir would have needed to make a bracha on vadai, and Rabbi Yeshua ben Zerus would have certainly seen it. The fact that Gemara suggests that Rabbi Yeshua ben Zerus didn't see anything, and that Rabbi Meir only designated the truma shows the Gemara is only talking about damai. We can see from the Rosh that even when mentally separated designating trumas and maasros, one needs to make a bracha. Based on this Rosh, Rabbi Akiva Eger's nephew, Rabbi Binyamin Eger, brings a question from Rabbi Yeshaya Pick, based on two halachos that we just learned. Both bittul chametz and truma can be done balev. So what's the difference between separating truma and bittul chametz? That by truma one makes a bracha, and by bittul chametz you don't make a bracha. In order to answer this question, we need to define what exactly happens when we designate truma and bittul chametz. The Gemara Kedushin Daf Mem Tes Amud Beis discusses a case where a man gives a woman kesef kedushin and says that the kedushin doesn't take effect until after 30 days. Quite a brilliant idea if you ask me. Lo bach achar bekisha v'chazra ba mahu. There's a machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish if she can change her mind within the 30 days. This is called asi dibor mevatal dibor. Can the woman change her mind when she says something which causes a process to be set in motion that will take effect at a later date? According to Rabbi Yochanan, she could change her mind. Asi dibor mevatal dibor. Rabbi Yochanan argues that since kedushin hasn't taken effect, the woman's original consent has a status of words and can be negated by a later set of words, her declaration that she no longer wishes to be married. According to Reish Lakish, she can't change her mind. Lo asi dibor mevatal dibor. The wife's original consent to marry cannot be negated by her subsequent declaration. Therefore, when the 30th day arrives, the kedushin is effective. Rabbi Yochanan asked a kasha Reish Lakish from Truma. According to the Mishnah, someone who appoints a shliach to take Truma is able to cancel the messenger before he even takes Truma, but not after the messenger takes the Truma. From the fact that the owner of the produce has the ability to retract and cancel his verbal appointment of the messenger, it shows that words can also negate another set of words. Asi dibor mevatal dibor. Again. Tosfos asked a kasha on this. Why is this a question only on Rish Lakish who holds lo asi dibor mevatal dibor? It should also be a question on Rabbi Yochanan who holds asi dibor mevatal dibor. So why is this? The Mishnah in Truma says that the owner cannot go back on his appointment after the messenger already took Truma. As we mentioned, there are two ways to separate Truma, either with intent or to actually separate. The Mishnah doesn't distinguish how the messenger took Truma, implying that regardless of how the messenger separated the Truma, whether it was physical separation or whether it was mental designation, the owner loses the ability to withdraw his orders to the messenger. This sounds like lo asi dibor mevatal dibor, because it's an example of someone who isn't doing an action, but still does not have the ability to retract. Tosfos answers, v'yesh lomar, d'machshava d'truma haya yodeh d'chmaisa dami, v'havi ke'ilu hataram biyadayim. Meaning that hafrasha, even when it's not an action but rather a mental designation, causes a solution to occur that's similar to an action. Therefore, no matter how the messenger separates the truma, the owner is never able to go back on the process. Everyone, both Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, agree that dibor, mere words, can't be mevatal maisa, in action. This would be tantamount to marrying someone, and then after Sheva brachos, getting up and walking out by annulling the marriage. We can see from Tosfos that the effectiveness of even mental designation of truma in that it has the status of an action. Once the owner intends on designating a portion of the produce as truma, it has all the dinim of truma as well. He infused it with kedusha, causing it to belong to the kohanim, thereby making usher for not going to eat, and then allowing the rest of the produce to be permitted for anyone else. So, what about bittul chametz? The Gemara Pesachim, Daf Daled Amud Aleph, brings a brisa that says that every person in the household is believed to say that they have checked the house sufficiently for chametz. Therefore, were one to rent a house on the 14th of Nisan, he would not need to check it for chametz if anyone claims that they checked the house the night before. The reason they're believed is because Kevan de bedikas chametz midrabanan de midoraisa bevitol ba'alma sagile himnu rabbanan bidrabanan. Since the search for chametz is only by mere rabbinic law, as by Torah law, nullification or bittul is sufficient, the rabbis believe them with regard to rabbinic law. This means that bittul chametz is the minimal Torah requirement, and the rabbis required the bedika to look for and destroy the chametz. Since the rabbis institute this mitzvah, they're able to determine who is reliable, and here in bedikas chametz, they're allowed for anyone in the household to be believed. So what does the Gemara mean when it says that midoraisa all one needs to do is bittul? Rashi says, hashbasa deleiv hi hashbasa. The Torah demands that one destroy all chametz before Pesach, and bittul is the actual kiyum of the mitzvah tashbisu. The Rian Tosfos argues and holds that you don't fulfill any requirement when doing bittul. Tim'achar shebittul have a hefker v'yatsa mershuso. That all the owner does when saying the sense of kol chamira is making the chametz ownerless or hefker. So what does he accomplish? He avoids the isra b'al yirah. That's it though. The difference between the other Rishonim and Rashi is whether bittul is just avoiding the isser by removing it from the owner's possession, or if the bittul actually does something to somehow nullify the chametz. You can see last year's shir about that. According to the Tosfos, when Chazal said to do bittul, it's a different requirement than truma. Bittul is really a way to avoid the isser of bal yirah. The Gemara says, "Habodik tzarich shivatel," that even if one already clears his house of chametz, he still needs to do bittul. Why? So Rav explains, "Shema yimtza gluska yafa v'daite iluya," that lest he find a fine cake and his thoughts are upon it. Tosfos explains that the concern is the cake; it's not batal ne'ela, and he's not going to get rid of it immediately and violate the isser of bal yirah. Once he's mavatal, the chametz is no longer his, and he's not going to violate the isser, even if he finds something over Pesach. This is very different than Afrasha's truma. In truma, one totally changes the nature of the produce. It starts as tevel and usher to everyone. Then after Afrasha, it's mutar. Part of it is owned by the kohanim, and the other part is allowed to be eaten by the owners. Bittul, on the other hand, doesn't change the chametz at all. According to Tosfos, the chametz doesn't change at all. The chametz before bittul is exactly the same as after bittul. The only change occurs in the ownership. Therefore, one should make a bracha on Afrasha's truma, but not bittul. When the Torah and the Beis Yosef said that there's no bracha on bittul chametz because it's b'machshava, they don't have to mean that the only reason there's no bracha is because it's b'machshava, but rather that bittul is b'machshava and there's no change. So to conclude, the question we had was regarding the difference between the difference according to the Rush. The question we had was according to the Rush the difference between saying a bracha on truma and bittul chametz. The first answer we got was that regarding Afrasha's truma, you would say a bracha on fulfilling the mitzvah to affect the change in the object. Meaning that the reason why Chazal only said to make a bracha on an action is because the bracha needs to precede something of apparent significance. Therefore, if not, it looks like a bracha levatala. When one is mafresh truma, even when there's no action involved, the change is to the produce. The change is to the produce, and the dinim it creates are so significant that one would still be required to make a bracha. Bittul chametz, according to the Ri and Tosfos, is only removing chametz from possession to avoid the isser of bal yirah. It's not doing anything to change the object whatsoever. Therefore, it's not chashuv enough of an action to require a bracha. Thank you so much.
Before I start, I'd like to thank Rabbi Hollander for all the many hours he spent learning with me in order to make this possible. The last Gemara in Gemillah quotes the following brisa. Tana Rabbanan, the sages taught in a brisa. Moshe tiken lahem leYisrael. Moshe enacted for the Jewish people. Shehu sholin v'dorshin be'enu shel yom. That they should make inquiries and expound upon the matter of the day. Hilchot Pesach Pesach, the laws of Pesach should be, they should occupy themselves with the halachas on Pesach. Hilchot Aser B'Aseret, with the halachas of Shavuos on Shavuos. Hilchot Chag B'Chag, and the halachas of Sukkos on Sukkos. The Bryce is telling us that we have to discuss the laws of the holiday on that holiday. On Pesach, we have to discuss the laws of Pesach. On Shavuos, we discuss the laws of Shavuos. And on Sukkos, we have to discuss the laws of Sukkos. Okay, this seems very intuitive. However, there's a Bryce in Sachem that seems to contradict this idea. Kidatanya, like it is taught in a Bryce. Shu'alin v'adorshin b'hilchot b'Pesach. We ask and expound upon the laws of Pesach, Kodam HaPesach Shloshim Yom, 30 days prior to Pesach. This Bryce is telling us that we must learn 30 days before Pesach and not just on the day of. So this is a contradiction of our Bryce in Megillah, which tells us we learn the laws of each holiday on the actual day the holiday takes place. So which is it? Do we learn the halachot on Pesach like it says in our Bryce, or alternatively, do we learn 30 days prior to Pesach like it says in the Bryce in Sachem? The Beis Yosef addresses this question. The Odiyeh Shlomar, and another answer. Dinei Pesach, the laws of Pesach, all kol panim at the very least, Sarich lo odam la'am, need to be informed to the public, Kodam Pesach Lamed Yom, 30 days before Pesach. Kadesh Lahem, in order so that they should have, Sheut Rav Hitasek Bichinat Hachitim, enough time to probably grind the wheat, the fiat matzah, and bake the matzah, the haglat kalim, and kosher their dishes, uvir chametz, and destroy their chametz. The ilu b'Pesach le leho taktana. On Pesach there are once it's Pesach, there's no way to fix it. Ilo avdu leho kilto mikmai hachi. If you don't do it properly beforehand, mashein kain bishar moadim, as opposed to the other holidays, umishum hachi, and therefore lo ba'ilishol derosh pelach tov. You don't need to ask and expound upon the laws. Kol Zman Kodem, so early in advance. The Hatanya, and that which is taught in the Brisa, Shosholim v'Hilchot Pesach b'Pesach. That we ask about the laws of Pesach on Pesach, Hilchot b'Chag b'Chag, the laws of Sukkos on Sukkos, V'Hidu L'Dorish b'Tamim. That is to expound upon the reasons. Avuram Nisur Vanu B'Mod Ha'u. That is because of them we are commanded in this holiday. So, the Beis Yosef is very practically answering that the laws of Pesach require earlier preparation. So, to only teach the laws of Pesach would be pointless because once you have chametz in your home and it's Pesach, it's too late to fix it. While other holidays don't have this issue, so they don't need the prior preparation. So, knowing this, why must we learn the laws of Pesach if we've already learned them? He answers that the holidays themselves, we are learning something completely different. We are learning about the significance and meaning of the holiday. As opposed to 30 days before, we are only learning about the laws. So the Maharsha quotes over the answer of the Beis Yosef and then asks another question on the Gemara. V'hada nakat b'Brisa, and that which the Brisa mentions, Shlosh Regalim Pesach v'Chag, the three festivals Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkos, Lo nakat nami Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim, and it didn't also mention Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Dichsiv gam kain b'Zohar Parsha, that is also written in the Parsha. Yesh Lomar, you can say, Delo Tiken Moshe Bishar Mitzvot, that Moshe didn't enact by the other mitzvos. Mishum Delo Atiyan Mizman Levzan, because they don't come from time to time. V'hachinami Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. So too with Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Lo Makru Mizman Levzman, it's not called coming from time to time. The Yesh Le'am Leten Libo Le'tshuva V'chol Shana, because a person is really obligated to be focused all year on Teshuvah. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, like they do on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Mash Ein Kain V'Shlosh Regalim, as opposed to the three festivals, Nitzam Bizmanam Ve'eno Shel Yom. Their mitzvah only comes at that time of year. The Maharsha had a question that why didn't Moshe enact that they should study about the holidays with regard to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur like he did by the three festivals? He answers it by saying Moshe only enacted that by things that come around once a year. And since we should be doing Teshuvah all year round and not just on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, he didn't enact it because it's different from the three festivals which only come once a year. It seems the Maharsha is comparing discussing doing Teshuvah on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to discussing the meaning and significance behind the three festivals. The importance of understanding the significance of these holidays during the holiday is comparable. A person who would go through Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur without focusing on Teshuvah, we would say that he completely missed the point of the holiday. So too, a person who celebrates the three festivals and follows all the laws that go along with them, if he does not properly connect with the message of the holiday, he's missed out on celebrating the holiday, similar to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur that wasn't involved in Teshuvah. So, this coming Pesach, we should all make sure that we properly understand and reconnect and feel the story of leaving the tribe to be able to properly fulfill the enactment from Moshe, in order to make this holiday more meaningful and allow it to impact us. Hadron Allah b'nei ha'ir, b'slika Allah Masechet Megillah. Hadron Allah Masechet Megillah, v'Hadron Alan, Datan Allah Masechet Megillah, v'Datach Alan, Lo Nishnashay Minach Masechet Megillah, v'Lo Tishnashay Minan, Lo Bama Hadain, v'Lo Bama Date. Hadron Allah Masechet Megillah, v'Hadron Alan, Datan Allah Masechet Megillah, v'Datach Alan, Lo Nishnashay Minach Masechet Megillah, v'Lo Tishnashay Minan, Lo Bama Hadain, v'Lo Bama Date. Hadron Allah Masechet Megillah, v'Hadron Allah, Datan Allah Masechet Megillah, v'Datach Alan, Lo Nishnashay Minach Masechet Megillah, v'Lo Tishnashay Minan, Lo Bama Hadin v'Lo Bama Date. Here Tzom Yochnecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Levatenu Shetei Toratecha Emunatenu B'Olam Hazeh U'Tei Imanu B'Olam Haba Chanina Bar Papa, Rami Bar Papa, Nachman Bar Papa, Achi Bar Papa, Rabbi Mari Bar Papa, Rafram Bar Papa, Rafish Bar Papa, Surcha Bar Papa, Ada Bar Papa, Dara Bar Papa. Erev Na Adonai Eloheinu Et Divrei Toracha B'Finu U'Vipiot Amcha Beit Yisrael B'nei Kulanu Anachu V'Tzeinu V'Tzei Amcha Beit Yisrael Klanu V'Yodei Shmecha V'Dei Toracha Lishma V'Yovei Techa B'Ni Mitzotecha Ki Le'olam Hi Li Yehi Libi L'Tami B'Chukecha L'man Lo Ebosh V'Lam Lo Eshkach B'Kudecha Ki Vam Chitani Baruch Atah Adonai Lamdeni Chukecha Amen 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 Selah V'Ed Modima Nachnu Lach V'Necha Adonai Eloheinu V'Levatenu Sheshem Talach Elkenu B'Yishvei Beit Midrash Lo Sam Talach Elkenu B'Yishvei Paradot She'anu Mashkim V'Hem Mashkim Anu Mashkim L'Dibrei Torah V'Hem Mashkim L'Dibrei Batelim Anu Amilim V'Hem Amilim Anu Amilim Makalim Sachar V'Hem Amilim ואינם מקבלים שכר. אנו רצים והם רצים. אנו רצים לחיי העולם הבא, והם רצים לבאר שחת שנאמר. ואתה אלוהים תורידם מבאר שצרכת אנשי דמים, ומרמה לא יחצו מהם, ואני אבטח בך. יהי רצון מלפניך אדוני אלוהי כשם שעזרתנו לסיים מסכת מגילה, כן תעזרנו להתחיל מסוכתות ושרים אחרים ולסיימם, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור לעשות חוקם, את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, ולזכות בית תנאים ואמרים ותלמידי חכמים יעמוד לי לזרי, שלא תמוש והתורה מפי זרי וזרע זרי עד עולם, ותתקיים בי והתחלך תנחה אותך. שבשכבה תשמור עליך והקיצותה כי תשיחך. כי בי ירבו ימיך ישפיעו לך שנות חיים. אורך ימים בימנה בשמאלה אושר וכבוד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני רחמו שלום. תהילה לקדש רבה. למעני הוא עתיד דפלתה ולחיה. יתה ולשכתה לעתון לך עלמה. ובנבניה קראת לירושלים. חללה הפלג בגבה. וקר פלחנה נבראה. מן הרע ולהטבה. פלחנה די שמעיה לארתרי. וימליך קדוש בריחו. ועל מלכותי ויקרא ויצמח קרנה ויקרא וישתה. וחייך וביחד מחי חוזר לגל בזמן קריב עם רעמן. ויתדר בתלוך ונשאר בריחו. ליאם מקום אחד נשרדת ונשבע נחמד לדמרן תלעד רעמן. כל ישראל ועל אמנן ועל תלמידיהם ועל כל תלמידיהם ועל כל אמן דסקי ברייסה. דיברתה הדין ודי בכל אתר ואתר יהי לכון שלום רב אחים וחיסר ורחיים וחיים ולרחים וזמני וריחי ופרקן בין קדם ולעוד נשאר עם רעמן. יהי שלום רב ישחיים ולגוז עם רעמן. ועושה שלום רב שלום גוז עם רעמן.
Beautiful. I didn't learn the modifier.
And Mordechai needs to look inside.
I don't think he's doing it. One thing.
I'll be seated for a moment. Perhaps the second most impressive thing about this evening is that it says here that I'm supposed to speak at 9:25, and it's 9:25. That's pretty impressive. Obviously, the most impressive thing tonight is the presentation by the boys, by the students, and what they've accomplished and what they've done, both as exhibited by tonight, but also as exhibited, if you look at the beginning of the program, in the pages 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, all of the learning that these students have done over the year, it is so impressive. And I want to speak in a moment, I want to speak about, I think, one of the causes, or one of the impetuses for what we see here. And before I do want to mention the loss of a dear friend of the yeshiva, Mr. Ira Weinstein, who passed away. Whose Levaya is tomorrow, and certainly any Torah I'm going to speak now would be in his memory. This week's parasha, last week's parasha, and this week's parasha deal with the tzarat, with the mitzorah, with the one who has leprosy, and this is one who has committed an avera, oftentimes lashon hara, and is as a result. The Ashkacha, God's divine providence, has ordained that the person should have a blot, should have some sort of blemish, some sort of tzarat on their skin or on their helm or on their clothes. And it's interesting halacha. The Torah tells us that v'huva el kohen, that the mitzorah, the one who has tzarat, has to go to the kohen who will evaluate what is exactly happening with this person. And the question is, why does this person have to go to the Kohen and he'd be evaluated by the Kohen? Why is it not simply enough? Go to a Chacham. Go to someone who knows what's wrong and what's going on. So we have to understand something about the Kohanim. The Kohanim are descendants of Aaron HaKohen, of Aaron the Kohen. And Aaron was known for being Ohev Shalom V'Rodef Shalom, that he loved peace and he sought after peace. Our Chachamim explain that what exactly did Aaron do? If you ever saw a fight between two people, he would go to one person and he would try to encourage peace. He'd go to the other person and he'd try to encourage peace. And they would say to themselves, how could I possibly violate what Aaron wants me to do? How could I possibly do wrong? Look at this model of Aaron, and look what he is, and look who he is, and look at what he does. How can I act against him? I can't act against him. I'm going to definitely go back to my friend, or to my enemy really, and make peace, and make up with this other person. And the other person the same thing. And as a result of Aaron's model, these two Jews would make peace with each other, and there would be Shalom al Yisrael. So coming back to the case of the Mitzorah, why did the Mitzorah have to go to the Kohen? Why was it so important? The idea, I believe, is the Chachamim explain that the Torah is trying to create an opportunity for the Mitzorah, for the one who had Sarat, to forge a relationship with the Kohen, to forge a relationship with someone who's going to evaluate him, and is to forge a relationship with someone who can influence him through this idea of Shalom, but in general influence him through the Kohen, through the greatness of the Kohen. And I believe what we see from this is how important it is for our students, how important it is for us to have real shimush, to have real tutelage under our chachamim, in this case of our students, under their rebbeim, under their teachers, and under those who are influencing them to learn Torah. This type of thing that we're looking here, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, you receive credit. You put in the time. Look at all you've done. But I don't want it to be lost on us what the impact has been of your relationships with your rebbeim, and how instrumental that is in you developing as budding Talmidei Chachamim. And my bracha really for you, and for all of us for you, is as you continue these relationships with your rebbeim, they will help guide you, they will help move you from this level to the next level to the next level, and on through the rest of your lives. And may we learn from Aaron, may we learn from the case of the Mitzorah, and may we learn from you really at the power of learning Torah and the relationships with your rebbeim. So chazakim baruchim and mazal tov. That will continue. Marv.
Like that, There'll be also some food for the CM outside.
I'm very proud of you.